Welcome to the Mouse Pals podcast. I'm Andrew, and I'm here with my pal, Jeff.
Hi, everybody.
This is a 30-minute show about all talk about Disney parks and properties. We'll bring you the news and dive deep into the most interesting Disney topics. So now it's time for the news.
As we know, Epcot and Hollywood Studios has reopened shortly after Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom reopened. So we got a lot of news to talk about.
That's right. Quite a bit of news. That, like every week, it seems like just a ton of news flying at us, seeing things are changing and new things are coming up. So there's never a dull week in this time.
Yeah. As we already know, that Disney is a very safe place. It's been deemed by one of the websites that Disney World has been one of the safer parts of Florida, which is good news. I don't think we talked about it in our last episode, but the whole situation when you pull up and park, you're going to park in every other spot. There's no really tram service going on at Epcot. I don't know if they're actually going to resume that. One of the good things is that, Florida, in the middle of Orlando, middle of Florida gets really hot in the upper 90s, and that makes the actual heat index over 100. Granted, you're probably not going to be testing over 100 once you get to the temperature check, but there is going to be a cool down period if you actually do test above the 100.4 degree cutoff mark.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's good news for people that run higher temperatures than others, and can give you a little cool down period, and then hopefully you can get into the park if you obviously don't have a fever. But
yeah, they need to do that for just people walking around the park. A nice cool down period after walking around in the middle of July Florida heat.
If you're going to be walking from your car to the park, you're definitely going to get hot.
It's no joke. That's true.
There's no shade, no cover on the way to the actual entrance at any of the parks. So
that's right. And they're not operating the trains, are they? The trams? I think that those are not, or at least they weren't. I'm not sure if they reopened them.
As far as we know, no trams have been reopened. We'll
Definitely.
see what happens. We might have another protocol in doing that. So people have been trying to get away with eating and drinking and not wearing their face masks while at Epcot eating food at Epcot because it's Taste of Food and Wine Festival going on right now. So people have been walking around trying to bypass the rules, but Disney finally put their foot down and said, hey, if you're going to be eating and drinking, you have to be in a location 6 feet away from people, and you got to be stopped.
Yep.
So that's good.
Yeah, they closing the loophole as they framed it. There's, I guess, a lot of people were trying to maybe get around the mask mandate by having something in their hand and then just walking around without a mask on, saying, "Oh, I'm eating it."
Yeah. And one of the good things is that Epcot opened up the World Showcase Pavilion. It's a big, large event space between Canada and the United Kingdom areas, where it's a huge building, high ceilings. You can actually eat inside there as well. There's actually multiple food booths inside.
Okay.
Going to Hollywood Studios, there's a big change to the Ride of the Resistance ride.
That's right. I saw that.
As opposed to having the 3 opportunities at 10 p.m., some times later in the afternoon, it went from 3 to 2 opportunities to get a ride at the Rise of the Resistance. So that's at 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. You're able to log into the My Disney app or go to a particular cast member that will sign you up for a chance to get into the ride.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know about the cast member. I wonder if that would increase your likelihood of getting a spot and securing a spot.
That I'm not sure, but I think the most fastest way to do it is do it via your app on your phone.
Yeah.
So don't take any chances. Use your app on your phone as opposed to possibly waiting in line for a cast member.
Yeah.
Although, who knows? They might have extra spots available.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what happened? Who knows? Maybe, I guess that's for those people without the apps.
We'll have to look more
without
into
a
it.
smartphone. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other news? I heard there was some news with annual pass holders, right?
Yeah, pass holders have actually got an email. Some of them actually already got an extension on their annual passes for 30 days, but I think most annual pass holders have actually had the option to get the 30 days or a refund on the remaining days of your annual pass from July 11th until your expiration date.
Right. I actually got that. I did not receive either a notice or an email. Sometimes I've been recently getting it through my Disney Experience app. Things have been popping up, alert and news, but I actually just went and checked, and I usually my ticket renews in September because that's when Food and Wine starts, and that's when we go. So that's usually when I've been starting it. But yeah, I looked, and it's actually at the end of October, so they've already credited me with that extra month.
Yeah, it's strange how certain people get it and don't. My brother-in-law, he automatically got his weeks before mine, but I'm sure if you wanted to change your mind, not have the extra 30 days and get the refund, you could just call them up.
Yeah. Do you know if they're doing, Jeff, maybe this is something we can report on? I think earlier on, one of our initial episodes, we had discussed some of the options that a pass holder could have. One of those was that you could call and ask them to push back the date of your renewal for, I think, the time that the Disney parks were closed.
I believe that's still going on. However, I have not personally tried doing it. I will probably actually end up doing that before my pass ends in October, but I'll check into that.
I actually called maybe 3 weeks ago, something along those lines. I got inspired after one of our episodes and just decided to sit on hold for a while, but it was about 10 minutes, and then I dropped. I had to do something else, but I'm obviously they're slammed and have been slammed lately. So I will probably try again. I'd like to secure that. I think that'd be a fantastic thing to do.
Absolutely, especially since the reason why we want to do that is because we want to have an opportunity to extend our passes out as long as possible before they probably raise the prices again.
Exactly.
We don't know, but probably will happen.
That's right. It almost certainly will happen. We'll see what happens this year, and really see what happens. I would imagine they don't even know yet whether they're going to increase it, but if it's not coming this year, it'd come next year.
That's
so
for sure.
Delaying that as much as possible is the best and the wisest course of action in my mind.
Yeah. We do have some good news, though, coming from the Orange County government officials there, is that as of July 20th, no reports of positive cases of coronavirus coming from Disney Universal, which is amazing news.
That really is amazing news. And they've been open since June 1st, I think, or early June, right?
Yeah. Universal has, yes.
I mean, that is that's good news, and it bodes well for Disney, especially. I mean, they both have been taking the issues very seriously, and I think I saw the same articles. Those places, maybe some of the safest places in Florida right now.
That's right. But it does come with the disclaimer, and that disclaimer is that this particular report relies on people who actually tested positive. It also said they actually went to Disney and Universal. So who knows?
Yeah.
But I think there's some promising news with that.
Yeah. And you got to think that it's probably is true. Most of it is the parks are outdoors where you're not as at risk as poorly ventilated indoor spaces. And then even the indoor spaces, I think they're well ventilated, which really lessens the risk of exposure. So,
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have some, bad news depending on whether you like the rides or not. But Disney did announce that they were closing some attractions and rides forever. They announced that Stitch's Great Escape is actually closing. Were you you were happy about that?
I am. I wrote that ride, or you even call that a ride.
Attraction. That's why I changed it to attraction. Yeah, it is. It was okay. I wasn't particularly in love with it. There's some that I think we talked about last episode or the episode before. Some rides that I think are worse, and I would love to see closed down before this one. But it's nothing lost really to me.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
Did you ever go on the one before that? I think it's the one before that. There was some alien that jumped out under your seat.
Yeah, alien encounter.
Yeah.
My wife rode that, and she did not like that. I think Stitch was an improvement on the ride.
Yeah.
But I think Stitch was not a great improvement.
Yeah. So the next one is Primeval Whirl over at Animal Kingdom, and it is going to be closed forever.
Well, I never rode that ride, but I'm sure a lot of kids have, and probably be kind of disappointed. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where maybe they can think of something better with
Probably.
the talent that they have there.
It seems like a carnival ride to me.
Yeah, exactly. Something I think they could
Something
rethink
better.
it, maybe put in some IP, some sort of intellectual property that they have, some
Yeah.
good characters. And lastly, Rivers of Light, which is the show at Animal Kingdom, is closing even after its short debut. It was debuted in 2019, so it hasn't had a long track record, but it is
Surprising.
closing. Yeah, I never went to see it either.
Me either.
Did you? No.
Nope.
No. Mary Poppins, the show near the UK Pavilion in Epcot, is also postponed. It is not closing, but it is going to be a little bit longer before that show gets to us.
Good.
And unfortunately, this isn't a Disney property, but it is at Disney Springs. It is Ample Hills Creamery in Disney Springs is going to be closing for good.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Because I think a lot of people went there and big fans of there.
Yeah, I've been there
That's
a
good.
few times, and it was. I liked it a lot. I thought it was delicious. Unfortunately, it is not going to be around. Understandably, I guess. Just there's just
Yeah.
not the revenue to keep these things open.
I think they might have one up the boardwalk as well, but of course, I assume that will be closing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting because I think this one just said the one at Disney Springs, so maybe there is hope for
We'll see.
the boardwalk.
I think it actually filed for bankruptcy.
Oh, well, then I would say there's probably not a good chance that the boardwalk one is going to be open. All right, Jeff, well, that concludes our news. We are now going to talk about food and wine. As we've discussed earlier, food and wine is happening early. It already started at Epcot, and it'll be going a long time. They probably want to have that open. I know it's a big draw for them. And with us drinking around the world, drinking at Food and Wine and eating at Food and Wine, enjoying that has really been the premier activity. That's what brings us there as our friends group. I know it's a big draw for a lot of people. And so
It keeps people outside.
that's right. And it is one of the more COVID safe activities, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we want to take this opportunity and maybe walk through some of the highlights, maybe some of the newer things this year, and some of our favorites, as well as the things we're most excited for, because there looks to be some new ones that I haven't had before, some new items on the menu that look great. So the 2020 Epcot Food and Wine Festival looks like it's a good mix of bringing back some of the favorites and the classic items that they have, as well as bringing in some new interesting recipes, as well as it looks like there's some other booths that are new. And we'll kind of walk through those and hit some of the highlights. So, Jeff, what's the number 5 thing that you are looking forward to getting at Food and Wine this year?
My number 5 would be coming from Canada. It would be the Le Cellier wild mushroom beef filet mignon with truffle butter sauce.
Mm-hmm. That is a staple. It's good.
It's delicious, and it's a hit or miss type of thing. Sometimes, mostly it's a miss, but when it's cooked to the right temperature, medium rare, which I think all fillets should be cooked medium rare, and I used to be one of those people that had to have every single piece of meat cooked medium, no less. But I accustomed my taste palate to having medium rare beef, which I find to be the best. And when they cook this particular fillet with the truffle butter sauce and the wild mushroom accompaniments on top of it, medium rare is absolutely perfect, and it tastes so delicious.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw the light about medium rare, but yeah, it is good. I don't know if I've had a bad one. I could see how if they didn't cook it well, then it would not be a great thing or it'd be disappointing. But they do a pretty good job of especially the industrial aspect, the mass production aspect of it, of getting those out as many as possible. It's one of the most popular items on their menu.
That's very true, and I'm glad they brought it back. It's a good priced item, and it's a good amount of food as well.
That's right.
So what's your number 5?
My number 5, Jeff, is and I'm going to butcher this, so I apologize to all of our Portuguese-speaking listeners.
Sorry, Christina. Sorry, Anthony.
That's right, exactly. Sorry, guys, but it's going to be pão de queijo, but as I call it, it's the cheese bread. It's the Brazilian cheese bread that is just delicious. It's on point. I love taking a bite out of that. They also have a great menu there in the Brazil restaurant. I think we'll talk about that later on. And I just love it. I get it every time, and it does not disappoint.
Yeah, I love the Brazilian cheese bread. I'm not going to even mention the name because I don't want to offend anybody. But that cheese bread, the way it's slightly crispy on the outside, and when you bite into it, it tastes exactly what it sounds like, cheese bread. It's so good.
It is. It's delicious.
It's like melty and warm inside.
Yep. And by the time I get there, usually our tradition is starting in Mexico at the Mexico Pavilion. So then we go clockwise around. So by the time we're at Brazil, I'm usually pretty full, but I always try to make room for this.
Yeah, along with the pork belly, that's for sure.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Stuff yourself.
That's right. What is your number 4?
My number 4 comes from Hops and Barley Tent at America. And this is my first dessert that I like on my list, and my last dessert on this list as well. It's the freshly baked carrot cake with cream cheese icing. It is so good. Again, it's another warm, delicious piece of carrot cake, perfectly sweet, but not too sweet, and that cream cheese icing. Big fan of cream cheese icing.
Yep, that is a great combination. You can't go wrong with that. That's an amazing dessert, one of the better desserts that they have, and it's a good classic.
So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is the Ropa Vieja empanada from the islands of the Caribbean. I don't know if I've had this, and I don't know if this is a new one, but it's going to be with tomato aioli, and it looks good. The pictures look great, and I like to say that. I like to try it. I'm always a fan of Ropa Vieja. It is got that meat inside a nice fried, crispy, breaded, container or good vehicle to get the meat in there, and it's just delicious.
Yeah, I love that shredded beef. I think it's marinated as well. So good.
That's right. Okay, well, what is your number 3?
My number 3, going classic. It's the New England lobster roll.
Staying in America, huh?
Staying in America, staying Hops and Barley. It's fresh lobster with herb mayonnaise on a nice griddled roll. So good, so delicious. It's a good, refreshing thing to have. It has nice substance to it as well. In some years, they have made it with a lobster salad, but these are just nice little pieces of lobster as opposed to a whole bunch of other fillers in it.
Yeah, they change it sometimes a little bit, and I have had it. I have to say, I think one year they gave me. It's supposed to be warm, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they gave me a cold one, and I was almost frozen, and it has just turned me off it since then. Obviously, it was a mistake, but I haven't had it since. A lot of times, Hops and Barley has the sliders, which it doesn't look like they have this year. It looks like they have a southern seafood boil, which also looks good, but usually I do avoid the lobster roll only because that one bad experience that I have, but I know a good lobster roll is just out of this world.
Yeah, try it again. I don't blame you for not wanting to come back and get it, but give this one a try. I think they'll do a good job this time. So what's your number 3?
Well, my number 3 is going to be the only booze or alcohol that I have on the menu, and that I have on my list. It is at the Desserts and Champagne Pavilion. And there are going to be 2 of them that I'm going to try, even though it's a little bit pricey. But I've never had Dom Perignon, and that is a good way to have it. It's buy a glass. It's probably only maybe an ounce or 2, but I've never had it. I can't wait to try it. And then obviously a classic champagne, the Veuve Clicquot, that's a great champagne. I've had that before, and I can't wait to have that again.
For having one drink on your top five there, I must say you did it right there with the Blue Clicquot and the Dom.
That's right. And then, they're two drinks, but I'm merging them. Well, I'm going to have one after the other. Champagne.
Yeah, double fist.
That's right. Can't wait. Okay, so number two. What is your number two?
Speaking of Brazil, got to go back. Got to have that crispy pork belly.
Yeah, that's the way I alluded to it earlier. You can't go wrong.
No, it's been around for a while, but it's for good reason. The crispy pork belly with black beans, tomato, and onion salsa, so good. They've done a really great job of crisping up that pork belly and having that nice salsa basically on it. So very good. It's a nice piece of meat too.
It is, and we've talked about ones. It's been hit or miss.
Yeah.
But every time I've had that, it's been on point, cooked to perfection.
Absolutely, you got to have it nice and crispy, and then you have that fat rendered in there just perfectly.
That's right.
They've improved on it a lot, and that's why it's my number two. So what's your number two?
Well, my number two is going to be we're going to go to France and get the canard confit, the braised duck from France, and it is. I haven't had that before. I don't know if it's new or not this year, but it looks good. It looks something a little different.
I'm looking forward to that particular dish too, that duck confit, which I think is duck braised in its own fat. So you can't get any better than that. Duck fat is so good.
And there's a little side of mashed sweet potatoes, so that seems like it'd go perfectly with a little duck confit.
Oh, that's perfect. It's making me hungry right now.
That's right. This is, I don't know why we torture ourselves like this.
No, should not be recording at night talking about food without having any food in front of us, especially the ones that we talk about.
That's right. All right. Well, what about your number one?
My number one, going to the alcohols.
Nice.
Is, I'm going to France too. I'm going to France, and I'm getting the La Vie and Rosé frozen slushy.
A good frosé, huh?
It's hot out, like I said before, and I want something cold and alcoholic, and that's going to be the frozen slushy from France. It has vodka, it has Grey Goose, L'Orange, orange vodka, Saint Germain, which I think is an elderflower liqueur, one of the best liqueurs out there, and white and red cranberry juice. It's so good, and it's also very Instagram worthy.
That is a good one. I know that really the France Pavilion has great frosés, if you will, or frozen slushies. And I actually haven't had the one with the rosé, the one that they bring around for food and wine. I've obviously had the Grand Marnier one, as well as I think is it the Grey Goose?
Yeah, the Grey Goose.
Slushy. But they are great and perfect for the Florida heat.
Oh, absolutely. So what tops your list off as number one?
My number one is nice kielbasa and potato pierogi with caramelized onions and sour cream from Poland.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah, it's at the main festival pavilion. It is not at a particular location, but it's obviously a good Polish dish. It'll be there actually this year with the seafood fisherman's pie from Ireland. And you just can't go wrong with the kielbasa. I love kielbasa. I love pierogi. You can't
love me some pierogies.
That's right. And
those little potato dumplings, so tasty.
Oh yeah, I love a pierogi, and with a little caramelized onions and sour cream. How do you say no to that?
No, you don't. You just go with it.
That's right. You just have it, and then try not to weigh yourself for a couple of days.
No, don't eat anything afterward.
That's right. Food and wine, you want to avoid the scale the next couple of days. Just work out a few more times. Well, yeah, I'm excited. This is more. Hopefully Florida gets a lot better. Hopefully there's a vaccine soon. I know that they're in production. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be going this year. It's really this is almost a fantasy exercise. Hopefully not. Hopefully we can get our annual tradition of our friends there back at Food and Wine.
Yeah,
but maybe not. Maybe we'll have to wait until next year.
Yeah, there'll always be next year.
That's right. Disney World's not going anywhere, and neither is Food and Wine. Well, Jeff, do you have anything else today?
We'll try to bring you some more information about renewing your annual passes or information about extending our annual passes.
Yep, and we will, obviously bring you the news as it comes. There's been a flood of news every week, and we want to continue to bring it right to your ears.
That's right. I hope everyone stays safe, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
That's right. And make sure to leave us questions, send in questions, make sure to rate us, make sure to subscribe to us on wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we look forward to hearing from you and hope you like what we've been doing.
Take care. Stay safe.
Thanks.